Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing part 2 of my March Flavor of the Month kit process. And today I am actually finishing off the kit and playing with all of the goodies that came in, the rest of the goodies that came in the kit. And this process video has been, the process part of the video has been sped up quite a bit. It did take me over 3.5 hours to put all these cards together, and that doesn't include some of the prep time, but so I did speed it up. I do try and show the finished cards as well as the card sketches I used throughout the video, but I also show them again at the end. I talk about the finished cards and compare them to the sketches that I use, so stay tuned to the end if you missed a card sketch. And then I'm also linking them in the description box below like usual, so you can find the links to them there if you would like to use them. And I will include the video, like kind of part 1 of this, that was part of the blog hop this past Saturday when this kit debuted. And you can see there was a handful of cards I made in that video, and you can see the process on those as well. So I am going to put the rest of this to music, so you can just kind of sit back and enjoy or craft along with me. If you have any questions, just please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so here are the cards that I made, just kind of the final look at them. These were the two that I had made on the kit preview blog hop. And then in this video, these were the cards that I made. This one, I just used some of the ephemera pieces, kind of grouped them together in a little scene. I saw one of the other designers do something similar, and I thought, ooh, that's a great idea. So I kind of cased that idea from her, and then just scattered some of the pretty little pink enamel dots around. And then here I used Freshly Made Sketches number 318 and turned it horizontal to make this cute card. Just used one of the ephemera pieces, stamped my sentiment up there, and accented with the enamel dots again. This is just a sketch from Robin's Craft Room. Doesn't necessarily have a number. All the sketches will be linked below so that you can find them if you'd like to try them. And again, utilize the ephemera pieces and used some of that light purple cardstock from the kit as my card base this time. And then this one, I used My Favorite Things sketch number 331 and stamped that cute little floral bunny. And I used the Shaded Lilac Distress ink and thought it was going to be a little bit lighter than it was. So it's a little bit darker than what I had hoped for. And then I threw some Wink Stella on there just to kind of, I don't know, add a little sparkle to it since it didn't quite match exactly, just kind of changed it up a little bit more. And then just use the little tiny spring greetings sentiment here and then the enamel dots down here. And this one I just took some of that cute bunny scene paper and I made, I was going to say, I thought there was a sketch for this one. It's Mojo Monday sketch number 515. And kind of made myself a little banner here when I folded it under the edges, just so it looks like it's kind of one of those curved 3D type banners. This one I used Mojo Monday sketch number 378. It was one of them that they provided in the kit, kind of as a sketch idea. And when I do these type of sketches, I usually don't measure a specific size for my strips here. I just use whatever sizes I have left. So I used this a couple times throughout when I was working through these collections, and I never cut the width of the strips down. I just used what I had and then cut the length down so that they would fit on the card. So just something to think about. When I'm working with scraps, a lot of the times when I get down to that point, I don't necessarily cut and measure. I just try and use up what I have left. So here I stamped that bunny just on some white cardstock, punched it out, and then used the Spring and Sprung stamp down here directly onto the card base. And here's another one of those. You can see the strips are different widths, different sizes, because it was just what I had. And this time I fussy cut the bunny out and put it on kind of like that peach cardstock, just to kind of pop it off since there was a white background, and used just saying hello down here on this one. Here I realized I had a bunch of these ladybugs left, and so I was trying to use up one of them. And I also had an extra piece of this butterfly paper or kind of background that I had practiced stenciling on when I made my first round of cards for the blog hop. And so I just brought it in kind of as a background and then layered up some of the patterned paper here. And then used a little Spring Has Sprung. And then this last one was just using a bunch of little scraps, kind of grouped them together, covered the seam here in the center, and then used Hello Spring for this one. So what do we have here? 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 cards from collection number 1. Collection number 2 was Farmhouse Floral, and I only got one card out of it, but it was this photo card. And I will zoom you out for this one just so we can, I'll flip through it again really quickly. So this was a photo card inspired by Lyric Lover Crafts, and again, this was highlighted in my blog hop video. I will link that video below as well so that you can see some of the details on how I made the other cards that I didn't make in this video. But just wanted to show you, it's a photo card, so it's got 6x6, panels here. Here I just used some of the scraps I had for a tag, and then just have some little embellishments. And actually you would turn it over this way. And then that would be the back side. And the only thing I had left from this collection was this part of the sheer ribbon. So I think I may take it and just kind of add it to the bow down here, because I also want to put a sentiment, maybe Mother's Day, on the front of here. And so then I may just add the bow and maybe some pearls or something to the front of it before I call it done. So that was all of collection number 2 done in one card. Collection number 3 was, I loved all these collections. They were all gorgeous, but I think collection number 3 was my favorite just because of the colors. So I'm going to zoom you back in here a little bit. I loved the color combinations of the peaches and the browns and the turquoise. Just really spoke to me this time for some reason. So here is one of the last cards I made. It's another one of those sketch cards using the Mojo Monday number 378 sketch. And again, didn't measure, just used the strips I had. And this time I added my sentiment up here across the strip instead of down here at the bottom. Again, using scraps on this one, took this little piece that I had started off trying to make it, design it after this Queen & Company sketch that Scrapping for Less had included in the kit, and then realized what I had wanted to use wasn't really going to flow well that way, so I just kind of tweaked it a little bit to do this. Here is the spring, a spring hello, that sentiment and banner from one of the stamp sets. And then I just used that leaf die to cut kind of a little garland down here. I had cut this when I was cutting some stitch circles for something else, just because I had space left on my mint paper. So just decided to go ahead and die cut that at the same time. And so I decided to use it down here on this card, and then added one of the paper flowers from collection number 4. One of my workhorse sketches here, this is Operation Right Home number 154. Again, just using some of the scraps at the end, and then put the sentiment just saying hello down here, and one additional scrap down here, and it's a strip at the bottom. This one, I was using all of the little strips that were left at the very end, just kind of grouped them together kind of as a focal point, and stamped my thinking of you on that mint cardstock. And then at the very last minute I decided to add some peach sequins, and I almost regret that. I think I would have liked it. I'm not usually like a very clean, and I don't know of a whole lot of white space, and I think that's why I thought to add the sequins. And I don't know if it's just the placement of the sequins that I used, or if it's the color. I don't know. I almost like it better without the sequins, but I don't know. Let me know what you think, what your preference would be on that card. It's still very pretty. All these cards are gorgeous because of the paper. This is one that I made in my hop video, and just kind of layered up a bunch of the patterns, and then have my sentiment, live simply, bloom wildly, here in the center. These next two, I used Mojo Monday. It just says sketch number 2, or week 2. And made these both at the same time, and so it worked out really well that after I cut this big piece, the part that was left was the perfect width to do this other layer piece. And so I was able to just do 2 of them at the same time, just kind of flip-flopping the pattern placement here. And I did layer them up on just a little bit of white cardstock, and I have this peach cardstock as my card base. And I think this came from one of the last kits that I worked on. I don't think it was from this kit. But the light peach I thought worked really well with one of the kind of off-whitey peachy flowers in this pattern. So anyway, I decided to use that in, but then popped my pattern paper up on a white mat just to help it stand off that light peach cardstock. And then I didn't have any more of the light peach, so I decided to bring in that mint. I hadn't used the mint yet, and so cut a stitch circle to go behind my big Live Simply Bloom Wildly element here, and then did add another sentiment down here that says thinking of you. And then the last two cards from this collection, I used Sweet Sunday, sketch number 300. And these, again, made them at the same time and just used kind of different papers. These were full pieces, and then this middle strip were already pieces that I had cut down to make that very first card that I made last weekend. And so they were almost like a perfect fit. I just had to trim a little bit off. But normally I wouldn't use two floral patterns here right next to each other, but I love the floral and I didn't want to waste it. There was cute patterns on the back too of a lot of these, but I was really loving the floral this time for some reason. And so I decided to go ahead and use them together and just separate them with some white cardstock. So there's a lot going on, but I love the colors, the softness, it's very, very romantic feel to me. And I used the little jar with the flowers in it, and I didn't color all the flowers. I just brought out that peach color that's, in some of the flowers here, and then added my thank you sentiment over here and accented with a few sequins that were also in the kit. So this collection, there were 9 cards. And then collection number 4 was the daisies. It was another one of my favorites. Again, I love them all. So I want to say that they're all my favorite, and I love them all for different reasons. And I talked about, this was the first card I made last weekend for the preview blog hop, and I talked about why I love this because I love daisies. And so that's why this one was a lot of fun for me. So the first card I made today for this part 2 was, I used My Favorite Things sketch number 170, and I made 2 cards, and I talked about it last time too. I didn't use a whole lot of patterned layers on these cards because I love the daisy paper and wanted it to stand out and kind of be the focal point. And the daisies, a lot of them were the same kind of type of pattern, and so I didn't really want to mix them too much. And I just loved kind of that bright, bold, simple statement of these cute daisies on that craft background there. And I just took 2 of the stamps from the stamp set with this kit and used Harvest Love and Grow Laughter. And I did take some green, it's Mowed Lawn Distress ink to ink the edges just to help kind of pop them off of the craft a little bit. So there's those 2. The next sketch is Sweet Sunday, number 293. And this time I did layer one of the more neutral patterns as my card mat, and then one of the little daisy patterns there as my focal point. And I brought in 3 of the white paper daisies that came with this collection, and then some of the little mustard colored enamel dots. I popped off the little bead that was the center of the white flowers and replaced it with one of the yellow enamel dots because I thought it looked like the center of a daisy. So just replace those, and then I have my sentiment going off the side over here, thinking of you. This sketch is a Newton's Nook design number 6, sketch number 67. And I decided to use all of the different pieces of the stamp set that came with this collection on one and made it into a tag. And to mix it up, I used some of that Mowed Lawn green distress ink to stamp it in instead of the black. And here I used, since I wasn't using a pattern for this, I decided I could use a pattern for the card mat this time, like one of the floral patterns, and then just use the back side, 2 strip scraps that I had of the back sides of some of the paper, kind of that more tan, neutral print as my little flag elements here. And then I did use some of the twine to tie a bow at the top of my tag. This one I love those big bold daisies. So again, I kept this card very clean and simple, just matted this piece onto some craft cardstock to help it stand out from the white, and then I have a Spring Hello sentiment down here on that curved little banner that was from one of the other collections. And this one didn't turn out as well as this one. Since it wasn't as big of a pattern, I wanted to bring something else in. So again, I did back it on the craft, and I have my Spring Hello on the curved banner up here. And then I just decided to bring in some of the white daisies, and maybe I should have replaced the beads with some of the yellow enamel dots. I don't know. I just feel like the daisies are kind of lost on there, but still I feel like it's a very pretty springy card. So here I was starting to use up scraps, and I had 2 long pieces that were about 2 inches wide each. So I just kind of used those together to make a card mat background, and then this I was like almost a perfect square size. So I just backed it on some white just to give it a little more, just to make it a little bit bigger, I guess, more substantial. And then used another one of those paper daisies. And then down here I have a thinking of you sentiment, and accented by 2 of the little yellow enamel dots. This is a sketch, it's Paper Players number 80. And again, using scraps, I just grouped 2 of them together on some craft cardstock. And then I decided the sketch called for a sentiment down here, but I decided since I didn't really have anything else to add as a focal point up here, I used all the sentiments from that stamp set up here, and then added the flowers from that stamp set down here at the bottom, and then some more of the little enamel dots. And the last card is Operation Right Home sketch number 25. And I had 1 piece of the big bold, thought I had 1 piece of the big bold daisies left, and then 3 of these. So I just kind of grouped those together and inked them in brown to help them kind of unify them, but help them stand off that white card background, card base background. And then stamped Thinking of You down here in the Gathered Twigs Distress ink as my sentiment. And so we get 3, 7, 10 cards from this collection. So almost 35, between 32, 35 cards from this whole collection. And that is with 1 card taking up 1 whole, or I guess 35 cards from the whole kit. And that's with 1 card taking up pretty much a whole collection. So I feel like this kit went really far as, you know, the number of cards it made, and I have said this so many times, this kit was just absolutely gorgeous. I think this has been one of my favorite kits ever from Flavor of the Month, and there's been a lot of them that I have really, really loved. So I will include the link to the subscription page down below if you guys want to go and see if this kit is still available. If not, you can always sign up for future kits because they are all wonderful in different ways. And as far as what I have left, of course, there's all the stamp sets and the stencil, which, you know, goes into my stash. And then I only used a little bit of the sequins. And then there's the little bead tray. These came as part of the banana split package. And then there's the bow that I will add to my photo card. And then I did find a couple scraps as I was cleaning up from each collection. I thought I had used up all of the daisy paper, but I didn't. So I just decided to cut it into a tag shape, add the last bit of that twine that came with that collection, and made a tag out of it, and figure I will use it in a journal or a scrapbook page somewhere because I do love, love daisies. And then these were some random pieces that I had also found. And at one point on one of the cards that I was making, I really thought I had a little group of flowers that I fussy cut out of one of the papers, and it was from collection number 3. And I don't remember, I think I was looking for it to use on one of these two cards. I don't know, and I looked for it forever, and I have no idea where it is, but I'll probably find that at some time. But these were the scraps that, this one I found later, and so I didn't get a chance to use. These were just kind of small, and I didn't really, so there were other scraps that were thrown away that weren't really usable. But, and then as far as some of the other embellishments I have left, I have the buttons that came in one of the collections, and then 3 of the enamel dots. 2 of them that aren't used, but I love these colors and we'll definitely use them on something else, and then just a few of those mustard ones left. So absolutely amazing kit. Love it, love it. Check it out. And thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope that you're all having a crafty month.